Every journey is a search. Every journey is a search, a quest to unravel the self. Hi Meru, how are you?
Very fine, very fine.
Good to see you again. So I hope you're looking forward to being my guide.
At your service.
So Meru, tell me more.
So you are in Kulu. So Kulu is known as the Valley of the Gods.
Devbhoomi,
Haan
the
ji.
land of the gods.
Haan ji.
Yes. Devbhoomi, the land of the gods. This time, I go forth to encounter the reality of experience. The collective consciousness of a system of belief. Unique in its cultural context, but common to all our histories. Kulu Valley basks in the shadow of the majestic Himalayas. The land of the gods is a pastoral delight. People live off the land, mostly in villages. Manali is Kulu Valley's only cosmopolitan oasis. The old part of the town is a popular tourist haven. Here, the aroma of tandoori chicken mingles easily with those of cappuccinos, German pastries, and other sweet smells. But even beneath this urban veneer, ancient myths and legends live strong. I discover that every village here is home to several gods and goddesses, Devta and Devis. Some deities are manifestations of mainstream Hindu gods, while others are ancient village deities, entwined in a complex and unique mythology of Devbhoomi, the land of the gods. In the heart of Manali, nestling in a cedar grove, lies the legendary Hidimba temple. This 15th century pagoda-style temple houses the patron goddess of the valley, Hidimba Devi, renowned as a powerful goddess and wish fulfiller. This is where my journey begins. Legend has it that Hidimba was a demon princess. She gained prominence when she married the great Pandava warrior Bhim of the Hindu epic Mahabharata. After intensely meditating for several years, apparently in this very cave, she attained goddess status. I offer her my prayers to invoke her blessings for my quest to unveil the mystery that surrounds her world. My quest was sparked when I had attended a festival celebrating the birthday of Hidimba Devi in the village of Old Manali. It was a riot of color and sounds. But the cynosure of all eyes was the palanquin carrying a semblance of Hidimba Devi. It was adorned with several masks, where the central one represents the Devi and the others smaller gods. This This palanquin is the Devi's vehicle to move around in, as she is not just confined to her temple. Meru told me that Hidimba Devi is considered a living goddess and participates wholeheartedly in all aspects of village life. And now, the goddess was enjoying dancing with her people. I was soaking up the photo opportunity when suddenly one of the locals got up and became part of a strange conversation. This was my first encounter with Tularam, the shaman of Hidimba Devi. Tularam was apparently in a trance, and Hidimba Devi was conversing with her people through him. I was intrigued by what I had witnessed.
Achha, we saw Tularam, the shaman. Tell me about him.
Shamans, we call them gurus here, and they are the mediums between us and the Devta.
So, how many gurus do you have in Kulu?
We have like hundreds of villages in Kulu Valley, and each village has different Devi and Devtas, and most of them they have gurus,
Achha,
the shamans.
Achha.
Yeah.
And what exactly do they do?
The shamans, they come into trance, and the Devi and Devta talk to us through them.
Achha,
Hanji,
really?
Hanji.
You believe that?
Anu Devi and Devtas are very important in our daily lives. We don't do anything without asking them.
So tell me more about gurus.
See, you will understand more about the gurus. First you will have to understand our culture.
Meru insists that I get an insight into the local way of life and system of belief, which would enable me to get a better perspective into Himachali shamans. And so he promises to take me to a unique festival.
Meru, it's raining a lot. आज फेस्टिवल होगा कि नहीं?
हाँ, if it rains or snows, festival तो होगा ही.
Really? अच्छा.
अब वैसे भी लोग कुछ डालेंगे देवी के पास बारिश रोकने के लिए.
They're going to ask the Devi to stop the rain. और बारिश रुक जाएगी.
Let's see, you are here.
चलो, let's see.
Meru and I make our way to the village of Old Manali. Meru tells me that today is Hidimba Devi's birthday. The festival will begin here at the Manu temple. Hidimba Devi sits resplendent in silks and jewelry in the temple courtyard. But I'm keen to spot Gur Tularam. And when I do, he is dressing up in the shaman's ceremonial robe. People begin to gather and musicians begin drumming a rhythm. I notice another cloak-clad figure. Meru tells me that he is the gur of sage Manu, as every deity chooses their own shaman. The chosen person begins to experience peculiar signs. The most important being to experience divine possession trance, where the possessing deity reveals their identity. Together, the gurs begin to ritually invoke their goddess, Hidimba Devi. They begin to chant mantras while inhaling the traditionally prepared incense of juniper. The officiating priest aids them by ringing the Devi's sacred bell. The drumming picks up tempo. Meru explains that rhythmic music is critical to induce trance. Tularam now plucks a hair as an oath to the Devi to pronounce her will correctly. Divine visitation is finally invited by the dropping of the cap. Tularam lets loose his hair. Meru tells me that the mark of a gur is his long hair, which is believed to be an aspect of his power. The ceremonial horns are blown. Suddenly, Tularam begins to shiver. And then shake violently. I am amazed as his persona visibly changes before my eyes. Meru explains he is now in a trance, an altered state of consciousness which allows the spirit of the goddess to enter his body. Tularam now begins to speak as the Devi. Tularam is absolutely awe-inspiring, transformed into the Devi's medium. Hidimba Devi addresses the chief concern of the people today. I ask Meru if what Tularam had said would come true. Meru corrects me, saying it was not Tularam, but the Devi who had spoken. Tularam was just Hidimba Devi's medium, and once her spirit entered him, everything he says are her words. The locals have absolute veneration for their Devi. They truly believe that she is speaking to them through Tularam. Hidimba Devi begins her journey back to her temple through the narrow lanes of old Manali. The musicians lead the way, followed by Gur Tularam and several village folk. Meru and I follow, feeling a mysterious surge of energy. Hidimba Devi's palanquin makes several stops at village homes, where devotees make offerings to their Devi. They share an intimate relationship with the goddess, for she is their loving mother, adoringly referred to as Hidimba Ma. People here have an enduring faith in the numerous local gods and goddesses found in all villages. Revered as living gods, they are intimately involved in the daily lives of the entire community. I notice in amazement that as Tularam had promised, the rain abates and it suddenly becomes quite sunny. Meru and I stop for a quick coffee to catch our breath. Achha, so Meru, tell me, I've heard that a lot of other Devi Devtas are coming for the festival.
Yeah, at this time of the year, there's a lot of invitations from the village, because this is sort of a culture we invite the other Devi Devtas. So they come to this festival, and when they have their festivals, then we go to their festivals. In past, like we didn't have TVs or radios, anything. So these were the main entertainments.
But you have special families who are bhajantris, right?
Yeah, we have special families for bhajantris, and it will be going to generation to generation.
Right.
They play the main role in like the Downsi. He changes the beats, so all the musicians, they have to change the beats, and then when you are playing those horns, so with that the shaman comes into trance.
When I was listening to it, I was also feeling, it's very powerful. You also feel it?
I feel that, oh God, I'm coming into trance.
Really?
Yeah.
After hearing the music, yeah.
Chalo, let's run, otherwise we'll...
Yeah, okay, I'll finish my coffee. Let's go.
Hidimba Devi's procession now reaches her temple amidst a jubilant crowd. Hidimba Devi now heads for a tree. This is the abode of the Devi's son, the legendary Ghatotkacha, a brave warrior who fought the battle of Kurukshetra in the Mahabharata. I watch in awe as Tularam goes into another trance, a pretty fierce one this time. He sticks his tongue out, signifying the famous pose of goddess Kali, whose manifestation Devi Hidimba is. A palpable flow of energy seems to emanate from him. The Devi now moves to the festival grounds, awaiting her guests. I notice in amazement as the palanquins rush towards each other. Meru explains that the palanquins are energized with the power of the deity, and they pull the bearer to whichever direction the deity wants to go to. The palanquins run in unrestrained delight to greet other deities and show great excitement in meeting them. It's hard to believe, but as I watch closely, it does seem that the palanquins have a mind of their own, and they are pretty heavy. In fact, the manner in which a particular palanquin moves reveals the identity of the god. And this one, with a swinging serpentine movement, is a Nagdevta, a snake god. I am fascinated when a curious ritual called Dev Khel begins, which literally means the dance of the divine. The sense of prayerful celebration is euphoric. Meru's family joins us for the evening's celebrations. The women now perform their traditional dance, the Laladi, in honor of Hidimba Devi. The overwhelming faith in their goddess and her living presence is absolute. I realize that a strong bond of community binds the people here, which has been kept alive by their participation in their shared culture. It's an aspect we somehow seem to have lost in our cosmopolitan lives. The festivities are over. Tularam too seamlessly merges from a shaman to an ordinary village man. He joins others around the bonfire, and in an ambience of bonhomie, they tell stories of their Devi.
अब आने शुरू हुए। ये बहुत पुरानी बात नहीं।
Of her history, her powers, stoking once again her myth from the secret places of their souls. Back in my cottage, I mull over my day. The way of life here was emotionally vibrant, so far removed from my urban existence. This was a different reality, which was sustained by a rich mythic belief system, and it formed the collective consciousness of the people here. But I was still curious about Tularam. And what exactly was his trance? Was it a divine possession or just a performance? And even in my dreams, I was pursued by images of a dream reality. Over the next few weeks, I set out to find out more about Tularam. You would never know that this man was a